All right. All right. We are here on stream and we have the one and only Easy with one of the greatest mustaches I have seen in a long time.
Hey, I'm doing my best, man. Just doing my best. Living well, thriving, surviving. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, there's something there's something in the world of facial hair that's really important and not everyone understands this is there's only certain people who can handle certain facial hairs and not everyone is bestowed the ability to have a prime time mustache. So the fact that you are putting it on and you're letting people know you are part of the elite few is special.
You know, it's uh it's part of the game. The lady sometimes gets mad when I cut it all off. She's like, I don't like the mustache. And then the mustache grows on her and it's a win-win.
You love to hear it. You love to hear, it. But we appreciate you coming on. You've been absolutely cooking on the timeline. You've been doing so much content across multiple socials. Definitely inspiring for everybody out here building shows, building brands. I see your countdown, and I think, man, even his countdown is dialed in with the music, with the electricity. I
Dude,
just
the funniest part about
everything's
that
getting
countdown, by the
fired up.
way, it's just a YouTube free countdown. I just like found it and I was like, I'm just gonna use this because I like it. Every time I use it, it demonetizes the live stream. So every single YouTube live stream is not monetized because I just use the countdown. I'm like, screw it. Like, I like it. It's fun. It fits well. The background music is just so basic, but
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So yeah, it's part of it, man. It's been a fun journey. I appreciate you, by the way, subscribing on X. That's been a fun journey to like figure out how to do it and like how what gives value to people and what people enjoy. And yeah, it's been a fun battle. Just trying to figure out different content verticals. I'm always trying new things. I love the live streams. I love trading market open. I love being able to participate and just have fun with it.
Well, the most refreshing piece of what you just said right there is trying to do something for your subscribers. I think that's something you see far too often. Somebody hits subscribers and they start getting subscribers and they do nothing different.
One guy subscribed and I was like, shit. Like I just threw this up because it was like a feature to have. I was like, I'll put 4.99. I have no idea if anyone will do it. If somebody clicks the button, we'll figure it out after. One person subscribed and I was like, shit, I gotta make sure I give $5 worth of value back. Like somehow. And now I just use it as a trading journal. I'm like, here's where I'm just gonna be unapologetically myself and just share all my positions in real as close to real time. I'm like trying to figure out a way to make it real time. It's a little bit hard, but especially because I trade a lot. Like my accountant's gonna hate me because last year was crypto heavy trading. This year's been equities heavy trading. Luckily, all of it is like I'm able to just give them forms and be like here. But yeah, it started with one person, and I was like, shit, now what? Like shout out, I gotta find this name because he's an OG Bodago, and he's just been rocking with me. Oh, Seeker Biggs, absolute goat, subbed forever ago, and I've met the dude a million times in person. Just the nicest human being. Love the guy. And then all of a sudden, two more people subscribed. And all of a sudden, I had five. And I was like, shit, okay. Now I've really got to figure out what to do here just to make it so, like, I don't, dude, if you're giving me $5, it's not a lot of money, but it's still the fact that you're willingly paying for something. And I'm like, shit, okay, let's figure out what's worth $5. And I was like, oh, well, people just like to watch me trade clearly from the streams. Let's just give them more of an insight into that, answer questions. And if you're subscribed, I respond 100% of the time, no matter what the question is, to DMs and comments on it. So I'm like, cool, let's just do this. Um, and then following that, I was like, okay, now on the weekends, markets aren't open. What can I do? So now every Sunday, I just write an article and share it. And I'm like, here's your Sunday homework. It goes out Sunday nights, has something to do with the market, something potential with the trade setup, more long form. Takes all of 5 minutes to read. But the comments on it have been great just because it's largely educational. Like, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what it looks like. Here's how I'm thinking about the next trade. And it's been fun. It's been a fun challenge, but it's something new.
Yeah, the articles has been a really nice piece of it where you're breaking down things a lot more. And that actually stems into my a question I have is you've mentioned this briefly and I don't know how much you've gone into it, but you come from a pretty heavy education background and actually multiple degrees, things like that. Not everybody dives into backgrounds of everybody, but that was something I know I've heard you talk about being passionate about that kind of thing and kind of like an always learner. How, talk a little bit about that, and then talk about in this generation where people are debating education and styles of education and things, how your framing's been in this most current evolution of access.
Yeah, so like you had mentioned, I have 3 bachelor degrees. Shout out to student loans that came with it. I originally got a psychology and an economics degree. The economics degree was actually a specialized one called urban economics, so it's city planning, stuff
Okay.
like that, like basically how cities develop. So it's weird, but like I really value a well-built city because I spent a lot of time in school learning about it. Like even simple things like bike lanes and crosswalks and like how they're structured. Like New York is hands down the most efficient design city. I lived in Boston for 7 plus years. One of the worst design cities, right? And it comes from the history of it. Like Boston was designed because they paved the roads that horses walked. And horses, I can tell you, I have 3 of them. They don't walk in a straight line. Like even when you're dragging them around, they don't walk in a straight line. They just kind of do whatever the hell they want to do. So it led to me just like to appreciate random stuff. And it was like just cool things about that. But then, of course, like where grocery stores are situated and how you can figure out what the societal economic dispersion is across a city simply because of where certain stores are and like how many payday loans buildings are in a specific location and like how that affects stuff. And I'm like, I got really interested in it. And obviously, like basic econ plays into that, like wealth disparity and where certain capital accrues and why suburbs don't have as much public transportation because the average number of cars are present there versus in cities and certain locations. So it was cool to just learn about a lot of that. But then after I graduated, I was like, I have this psych degree and this urban economics degree. I don't know what the hell to do with it. Like neither of these things, like I could get into city planning, but like that's kind of boring. Right? Like I don't want to be there like telling people where to slap the next grocery store or approve like a high-rise apartment building. Like that sounds terrible. So I got a sales job, hated it. Absolutely hated it. I'm cold calling 200 people a day. I want to blow my brains out. I'm like waking up miserable. I'm showing up late every day. I'm like aggressively trading crypto back then. It was 2016 to 2018. I ran up an account pretty high and I was like euphoric. I would show up at like work started at like most of the guys showed up at 8:39. I was showing up at like 9:30, 10, thinking I'm hot shit because I have all this like crypto money. I end up losing it all. And then I like turned it around. I'm showing up at 7:30. I'm leaving at 7 at night because I'm like, shit, I really gotta like correct course here. I don't want to get fired. I need the money now. And after like 3, 4 months of that, like 12-hour days, and if you're in Boston, that was 12-hour days from January to March, you don't see the sun. The sun comes up at 8 and sets at 4. So like I'm in an office building, basically walking in as sun's rising and leaving well after the sun sets. And I'm like seasonal depression setting in. I'm hating everything I'm doing. And I get home one night and I'm like seeing all these boot camps for code, for people to write code, like 3 month code camps, if you remember those, where they teach you how to write languages and they tell you that they'll get you job placement. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I could see why people want to do this, but I'm like, this feels very saturated. So I was like, let me go one step further and get the actual piece of paper that says like I have a degree in this. So I went back to school for software development and I really lucked out because they took all of my general education courses. So I only had to take major courses. So I could get another bachelor's degree in 16 months, a year and a half, right? Or
Awesome.
18 months, a year and a half. So I did that and I'm doing courses for software development and then got into all that. And now, sure enough, it kind of all plays out into crypto, software development, psychology of trading, economics. And it's given me this, like, what I like to think is an inherent edge to understand markets, which is what I truthfully just always loved, like, have always been passionate about it. And so the education side, circling back on it, I had posted a little while ago. I was like, the two things I really want to do at some point in life are start a fund and teach a course, like a college course. I'm not talking about selling a course to people, but sitting in a room with kids who are aspirational and interested in economics and markets and just kind of share what I've learned and help them understand things. So I've always loved it. It's why a lot of my content is way more educational than like clickbait and why I like to just share how I'm analyzing something or why I think something's interesting. And it kind of started the whole content journey because when I got into the NFT side of things, I followed a bunch of people who were buying NFTs and doing all this stuff. And honestly, I hated the way they did it because they would buy and then on chain I would see that they were selling. And I'm like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? And so I took it another step further and I was like, here's what we're gonna do. The market's really hot. I'm gonna give you every single one of my trades with a stop loss and a take profit, hyper public, right when I enter the trade. So you know where I'm exiting. You can't get mad and you know exactly where I'm exiting. And that was what led to pretty aggressive growth on social media where people were like, oh, okay, this feels cleaner than like a lot of the other people trading because he's telling me where he's going to sell before he does. But then obviously people found the wallets. I'd buy, they'd pump the price right into my take profit, and I ended up having to like stop that. I was able to do it for 2 months, and we ran. I think it was like either 500 or $1,000 into like 8 or 9 grand back to back months just on NFTs, hyper public. And then I obviously had to stop it. I had to figure out ways to get wallets and trade without people copy trading because I just hated it. Because I would then just feel bad. Like these people were now buying my exits. So long winded answer, but yeah, dude, I love the education side of things. I have a love of learning. It's even now what I love to do, and like being able to get back into equities with this like on chain side of it has been awesome to see.
Yeah, you have been consistent and you've been really public with what you're doing, which is refreshing. It's a little more authentic. You don't always hit winners every time. You don't always post a 10,000% P&L growth over the last day. It's not a bunch of screenshots of every win you've ever had with no losses. It's very much, oh, whoops, that one did
Yeah.
not go how I was hoping. And that's what, that's what the evolution feels like in the future. I feel like it's more aligned to real people doing real things where they're at. Companies are in the future, to me, in this blockchain decentralized space, are more companies that have revenue, they have profits. Everything seems to be evolving towards authenticity, towards real metrics, towards real accomplishments, and away from a little bit of the phony hype and just throw a wish in there and it's an L1, that's $1 billion coin. It seems, how do you feel in that regard on the evolution of where the industry's at right now and where we need to go to get where we want to go?
Yeah, good question. I think right now it's like, don't get me wrong, dude. Like anything, I do love like a nice PNL post from some people. Like it's
Oh
fun
yeah.
to see people win, but at the same time, I love what if you're from the Wall Street bets days, they call it as loss porn, which is huge losses, big red, big red, ugly trades. And I'll never forget. I was a big Wall Street bets guy before GameStop, before AMC. I told this story yesterday on a podcast. I went viral there for trading corn futures, where my post ended up getting like it was top 3 posts on Wall Street Bets for the better part of like a couple weeks, and led to Wall Street Bets trading commodities, wheat, corn, silver, gold, etc. Because I had this long drawn out thesis on corn futures because of a storm in the Midwest, and it ended up panning out perfectly. A bunch of people made money, but I ended up just continuing to like interact there. People knew me as the corn guy, which was like a lot of fun. Eventually faded away from it as I found like smaller groups, which were just more tailored to like the conversations I wanted to have and people I wanted to talk with. So that obviously all played out. It was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, to your point, you have a lot of people that are posting huge wins and huge losses. My favorite loss ever was this guy remortgaged his house and was confident on Purple, the mattress earnings. So he took
Okay.
out a bunch of crazy out of the money call options on Purple. And his thesis was I use Instagram a lot and they keep feeding me Purple ads. So people have to be buying these mattresses. And I was like, oh shit, like you're actually insane. like, like this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Son of a bitch might do it. You're right. Like I was like, this guy's so crazy, it might just work. I didn't take the trade. I just watched. I logged in the day after Purple earnings. They missed horribly. Like they missed earnings terribly. And his call options like went to zero so fast. And I just remember seeing his P&L down like 200, 300 grand. And I'm just like, damn, like this is crazy. Cause at that point, it was like, I wasn't trading with crazy size, but it was just like, you always got to appreciate the big wins and big losses. And I think more of the timeline, especially with stuff like FOMO, and some of these other platforms, you're seeing a lot more transparency of where people are buying and selling, which I think is a good thing, right? Like I think genuinely that's a good thing.
Yeah. The the part that everyone's wondering is the what other wallets are linked. The old
Yeah.
okay, who's the person in there? Who's the Marcel? Who's the different actor in there who's not even, they don't even hide it. It's just like, yeah, I'm absolutely cratering you guys. But this is going to be my public wallet that will be the last thing I buy from, sends it, and then exit, and then just
Yeah. Oh yeah. You see it. You see it a lot. It happens. It's
yeah.
annoying. It's very annoying, but it
It's the
happens.
authenticity side though, and the trust side. And I think that's what you build when you have a little bit more in public aspects of what you're doing. But a couple of key things you pointed out in that story that were great because it were things that I wanted to ask about anyway was you got to respect somebody who gets in 2016 to 2018. That's real early days. That's before a lot of the hype. That's before CT's really built out and functional. What got you in the mode where you were willing to take action at that time in the market when it was not established as well as it is now?
I think it was just seeing people do well, right? Like you see people taking these opportunities and stepping in and taking trades and sharing on like the timeline. And that was a lot of it. Like back then, it was a lot of these like stock groups that were trading very aggressively. I was in one called BTD by the dip. I was in Atlas, which ended up getting indicted, the founders for pump and dumping small caps. But that one had like 40,000 members, right? So that wasn't like it was a public Discord anybody could join and they would just publicly like share trades. What got me really into it though was just seeing these people have these wins and being like, okay, so there is something here. And then obviously, like you take trades, you participate in the market, and you kind of find opportunities that are interesting. And I think part of trading that really got me interested was it was like how much time you put in the market can pay it back. Like you can find really good buys, really good theses, and take trades. And a lot of that was really interesting to me because I was like, okay, so if I research and study this stuff and build my own conviction, I can find a lot of really cool stuff and take positions on it. And I'm like, now that's really interesting, right? Like I can find these opportunities just by how much time and effort I want to put into this. And I think that's what really made me one want to get involved and two want to win was like, okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff here from the love of learning to resources that you can pay for or find for free online and be able to take action that way. And I was like, okay, like that's really what did it for me was seeing some of these P&Ls, seeing some of these trades, and then wanting to get involved simply because I saw other people doing it. And I was like, all right, this is there's something here. I don't know exactly what it was. And it started when I was much younger. When I was in high school, I shared this story for like one of the first times yesterday. I competed in a like countrywide stock trading competition when I was 16 because my dad had always talked about stocks. He was like an early Disney buyer. He was a Tesla IPO buyer and he never sells. He's one of those guys that's just like a buy and hold forever. But like I'm a very aggressive trader. I get in and out of positions. I trade very short term. It's what I enjoy because I can watch the charts and I can make moves in real time. Literally before I got on this call, I traded like a SPY bounce, and I was trading on tilt earlier today because I was crashing out after losing, and it was a 15-minute trade that regained all my losses for the day. So I was like, okay, cool, right? But it's a hyper aggressive trade, and I know what my dad calls, and he's like, hey, you see, Tesla gave up 2 points today. I'm like, dude, I'm down 47%. Like you're talking about being down less than 2% and you're upset. I'm like, I was on call options that went to zero in 4 minutes. Like, what are we talking about here? So that's it's kind of part of that is like what got me into the trading was like how much time you want to put in can be like repay you on the market, but then it's also finding what works for you. And I think that's the biggest thing so many people overlook is not no two traders are the same. Like how many people would not have taken the trade that I took today simply because that's not the price action that they watch for or the market that they want to trade. And I look at stuff like that where I'm like, it's truthfully, it's a game, right? Like I think of it as a game. It's like, I think of it like an RPG. What's your character? Like, what is your skill set? Like, I love Skyrim. I've played through Skyrim probably 15 times in full. And if you're not familiar with Skyrim, it's like arguably one of the best RPG games. You get a character, there's like 15 different classes to pick from. I always went with like the stealth one because you could like rob people and do all this like crazy shit, just being like secretive. And I was like very fun with it.
That's
But
Morrowind, right? That's that
yeah,
because I remember playing the original. I never ended up jumping into the new one, but even the original was way ahead of its time
yeah, you
on
had
jump
Morrowind,
skill and
Oblivion, and
everything.
Skyrim. So
Okay.
I've played all of them. You can tell I'm a nerd. Like people don't realize I'm a huge nerd. Huge nerd. You can see I got tons of Pokemon and Legos behind me. I got a case of Bulbasaur cards over there. I'm the biggest nerd you'll ever meet, right? Like I love sports. People are like, dude, it's weird. It's like you're diehard, like you're a huge nerd. But like I got a Namath jersey on the wall, a signed John Wall jersey. Like I'm all over the place. But at the core, dude, I'm a huge nerd. I love technology. I love reading, truthfully, just not books. Like I love
Yeah.
nonfiction because again, it's like the ability to learn. But my fiction comes from RPGs. And that's I look at trading like it's an RPG. Like what is your skill set? What is your skill tree? Where do you find stuff? What is your edge? How do you beat the game? And in order to beat the game, you have to have certain skills and work through certain things that relate to your class. And mine is a hyper aggressive trader who takes a million positions for short term trades and sizes up aggressively if the market's going against what the data shows. And it leads to big losses and big wins. But the whole thing is like preserving capital and finding your edge and then just trying to exploit that edge as much as you possibly can.
When you talk about those different aspects of identifying people who are really outperforming and really maybe it is a P&L trade, maybe it's not as accurate, but the framing you have in your mind, I think is so important. And it is a piece that too many people are missing, which is it's what I love. What's got me addicted, what got me into this industry is when I see somebody outsize winning, it's that thing you just said, which is
Yeah.
I'm excited because I go, okay, well, I might not be doing it right now or I've made some wrong moves, but somebody has done this at an amazing level and has changed their entire life. So that means I can do that. I can achieve an outsized win. And it's my job to continue looking internally to enhance my own skills to achieve at the level that I want to achieve at. So every time what you're pointing out, even in yourself, is you're identifying people who have skills that are above and beyond or certain talents that allow them to achieve at a certain level and using that as your motivation, knowing the liquidity or the outcome you want has already been proven. So it's almost a net benefit to already see somebody being there.
I think so. I think that's part of it. And like you said, like when you see other people do it, it just makes you realize what's possible. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, oh, this is possible. It's also like why, truthfully, I know I've shouted him out a couple times, but why I really like working with FOMO is I have this ability to see public traders. And like last night, there was multiple 50K plus P&Ls off of just one coin. And I'm like, yeah, so you can't tell me the market does not have positions where people can win if we're seeing that, right? Like that's the thing is a lot of it too is like not everyone's going to win out the gate. It's just not possible, sadly. Like I wish everyone could win. I wish everyone could just constantly make money.
Yeah.
But that's just not the reality of it. Trading is a PvP environment where for every one win, someone has to lose, right? Like you have to have a counterparty. And that to me is like where the skill set comes in is are you a better trader than your counterparty? And if so, you can make money. If not, adjust the skills. Like I'd bring back the RPG comparison. Adjust the skill tree, figure out what the counterparty is and where they're trading, and figure out where the discrepancy is.
It's such an important way to frame things. And it's really important to be able to, if you're somebody who's able to actually identify the gaps and then find the areas where you can fill those gaps, whether it's networking, whether it's education, but there's so much free resources out there plus effort. Those people who are constantly looking internally at how to improve instead of externally at, oh, maybe I'm shadow banned, maybe the algorithms got me, maybe I'm fine. Somebody's screwing me over. There's a lot of people that spend a lot of time pointing fingers to try and find somebody else that's the reason for their problem. And
Yeah.
you can't really achieve anything looking externally. You're going to sit in the same spot where even if you got rugged, even if there are external factors, if you look back at your decision tree and how you came to this place, there's always something you can internally adjust. And that keeps control to you instead of giving it away and you're stagnant.
Yeah, I think so. I think the hardest part is like no one else is pressing the buttons for you.
Yeah.
That's the reality. Like I don't mean to be rude, but like no there's nobody sitting there pressing the buttons on your keyboard for you. You have to go and do it. And if you find blame and deflect, that's the worst part. Like that is hands down the worst part is the deflection because I think there's a couple things with that. And what you just mentioned is like people see it and they're like they want to figure out who to blame for a bad trade or a bad position or a bad take. And the only person to blame is yourself. Like I mentioned it earlier, I was on tilt because I was losing money this morning and ended up, thank God, made it back just because I was not trading with data. I was like, I was watching it go against me, and all signs pointed to it going against me. And I was like, it'll bounce, right? Like,
Yeah.
who could I have blamed in that situation? Could I have blamed Donald Trump for saying we're going to attack Iran? Sure, but that's not going to change the situation, right? So, like, you kind of have to just sometimes accept that you are your own best friend and your own worst enemy when it comes to markets. And I think the other side of it too is comparison is the thief of joy is one of my
Yes.
absolute favorite quotes. Because when I first started, we've been talking a lot about seeing these P&Ls and people just crushing it. And do you want to be that person? Why not me? Why not me? Why not me? Instead of saying why not me, look at it and readjust your mind frame to what did they do different than I did? What are they doing differently here that I can learn from and try to replicate? Or what value and information can I gain from why they took that trade, that position, that move? How many losses do they have before that big win, right? Like, how
Yeah.
many times have they fallen down and gotten back up before they hit this? And those are the things that we overlook. We just see the P&L and we're like, oh my God, they're amazing, right? Like, that's the thing. And when you constantly compare, you want to be that person, but you will never be that person. That's not you. That's not the situation. And it was one of the hardest things for me when I first started was I would see these huge P&Ls, these great traders. I would read about awesome stories of people crushing it. And I wanted to be that person. And after enough time of why not me, why not me, why not me, it changed to this will be me. This is what I'm going to do. This will happen. These are the trades I'm going to make. This is the situation I'm in that I can control. And I even have friends now who are like, dude, this guy's crushing it, da da da. And I'm just like, I message him and I'm like, dude, just shut up. I don't mean to be rude to you, but stop. I don't give a shit what they're doing. It does not change my life. I'm sorry, but like, I don't want to be rude, but I want to be a realist. And you have to accept the situation at hand is this is not you. It's just not you. Like, learn from it, take action and learn what they're doing so you can either replicate or adjust it to fit your model. But the more that you look at what they're doing and you're not doing something, the worst position you're going to be in tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the chase. It's a little bit of the chase. It's the old you don't have a plan, so you rotate and buy tops of everything because oh, I heard from this person and they always win. So I jumped in on their post and then you bought the top of that thing, but then you don't have conviction. You don't know what the play is. You don't have the research. And so then the next person posts and they're a big winner too. And you want
Yeah.
to be like them. So then you jump from, but that position you just went in is 30% down, but you don't have capital set aside. So you're rotating that second play. And then you become that person who washes between the final tweet of every influencer as they get out and you don't know why you're winning. It's Jeff's fault over here. It's his fault over here. Ansem took all my money, and you
Yep.
don't realize like this is the 50th post they've put on this. This is this is the final step of this whole game. It's 400 million market cap, and the person who's switching between these plays, exactly how you said, is you. And I will be when I first started out like diving deeper into this industry, I was in 2017, but it was very much I jumped in at the end, I caught some tops of things and I was lighter in, I was getting my feet wet. But then in 2020, just before DeFi summer, I was like, I have to get in this. I know this is coming back. This is the thing. If you think I didn't come in, I was in a good job. I had money. I blew 80 grand like a blink. And you would think,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like, but in the moment, DeFi summer was going nuts. I've got, Capo, the good Capo, not the down only Capo. He's saying these things. I'm jumping in. I'm having all these things. And things were going up. Like everything was going up. So you're just getting into everything because DeFi summer was nuts. You get the Uniswap airdrop, everything's going right. But September comes, and September in 2020 was a massacre zone. And everything, everything that we had, half of it, three-quarters of it rugged in September. It like not the new school rug, like the old school rug. They pull the liquidity, it's game, set, and match. And I just
Yeah.
remember thinking, okay, I was a bit irresponsible there and I was pissed. Like, obviously, I'm like kind of reflecting and looking around thinking, that wasn't, I'm not doing this game right. Like, I'm finding,
Yep.
and I had to sit there and reflect for a few weeks. Were my gaps? One, I'm getting the information last. if they're posting it on their timeline, that's not the first place this information lives. That's not where this token and everything starts. So I need to network better. And so I go through all this list, and I won't go through all of it, but I had to spend a lot of time in this moment. And obviously, I wish I don't go 80 grand into that mistake, but situations for each person, 80 grand could be 8 grand or 800 bucks for anybody. So it just depends on the time. But it really made me spend a lot of time stepping way back. Like, okay, I don't need to put that much money in yet. I'm not prepared to enter that money in this market. This market's not ready for that either. I need to get a longer time horizon, not look for the easy button, begin networking like I would in a traditional company in the world. And then through that, I will get closer to the information. I'll get closer to knowing the people who are calling things early. And it totally changed the way I went about things and the success I had through that next cycle through stepping back, reflecting, and then also taking some skills I have, which would be networking and getting to know people and understanding and asking questions, leaning into that so that I actually know what's going on, and somebody wants to tell me about what's going on. They'll take the time to send me a message with a description of why that's the play and things like that. But it was my moment of, am I going to just keep getting the news last from a 100+ K influencer that it's already up 50x up by the time I find out about it? Or am I going to do something different?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Is to your point, it's like it's also tough when you see everything going like parabolic and running
Mhm.
really hard, and you don't want to be left out, right? Like you don't want to miss the potential run. That's like one
Yeah.
of the hardest things I think is like you see this potential run make some crazy volatile move, and you're like, oh man, I got to buy into this. I don't want to be sitting on the sidelines, right? Like
FOMO. Yeah.
yeah, it's the FOMO is like the killer, man. It absolutely kills because so many people just don't want to be left out. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines for it, right? Like it's very hard to find that balance, I would say. Like very hard. Because at the same time, you want to be able to figure out where and what should I be looking at and how and what should I be taking trades on. And again, it all just comes back to your model, your system, your play. Like what makes sense for me? And I think that's the one thing a lot of people overlook is like, what is the best trade for me on this versus what is everyone else doing?
Yeah. And if I lost your audio.
Oh, sorry, is it back?
Oh yeah, it's back. Yeah. Because I saw you talking, but yeah, I was gonna say, when looking at all of this and analyzing it, what I've learned over the years is a few different things around just more perspective and a bigger picture around making sure I keep my head in the zone of what I'm trying to achieve here, because it's very easy. I think in the FOMO world, in the world of things going crazy, in the world where you're up a massive amount of X's, and somehow in our minds, it feels like, but that's just the beginning. I'm 100x up, but it's got more in the tank. It makes
Yeah.
no sense why it wouldn't go. The whether it was NFTs, whether it was whatever, there are times when we've all been irresponsible in our bubble of it's that NFT's 100 grand undervalued. Like
Yeah.
literally, that's got 10x left in it. And I guess when you look at that and through this to survive to this level, how do you keep yourself grounded, disciplined, consistent throughout a world that wants you to hold forever?
I mean, it comes just with experience in the market, I'd say. Like just having a lot of experience in the market's the biggest thing. And I think part of it comes down to having rules in place is the biggest part. So being able to have set take profits, set stop losses, and just not differing or breaking from those rules, right? Like that's a big part of it.
Yeah, discipline. What I've noticed with people who succeed in an outsized way here is that they really discipline and consistency are core traits, whether they built them or they started with them. Some, to be very honest, some absolutely come in cutthroat and ready to ride. And from day one, they become the quickest millionaires from whatever point they start because of their discipline. It's absolutely insane. Nothing shakes what they know is what I'm trying to achieve in life compared to cryptocurrency. This is the engine to get here, and nothing stops that train from getting there. That I think with seeing discipline, what I've seen, and Kobe even talked about this on Thread Guys stream a little while back, was it has been insane. And it is a reality check a lot of times seeing disciplined people that can take 2 to 5 X's every single time off the table, or at least split their positions like clockwork. They never keep their money exposed. The ability to stack those X's and the outcome over a year to 2 years of doing that compared to the I ride 100X, I'm looking for the 50, whatever, what most trenchers are looking for.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to see over time the compounding that can happen and how much faster it is than traditional finance because you're getting 2 to 5X gains instead of 10 to 20% gains each play.
Mm-hmm. No, I think so. I think a lot of people too forget that like base hits, score runs too is
Yeah.
like probably like the best way to, I've always circled on it is like when you look at a market and you're trading a market, people want that 100x, 50x, 1000x return. But at the end of the day, the reality is you can still find great outsized opportunities simply from 20, 30, 40% gains over and over and over and over. Over and over and over and over. And I think a lot of people underestimate that. Like, you don't need to go for this crazy big win every time. It just doesn't have to happen. And sure, it's great when it does. But the reality is, you don't have to hit that to make money. And I think so many people worry about that and forget about it. When in actuality, you can find good opportunities in the market by just stacking small wins consistently and limiting downside. I think trading is as much as making money as it is preserving capital.
Yeah, I was just thinking about there's that old saying, like one of people's biggest fears, especially a lot of times men's biggest fears, is meeting the person that they could have been at the end of life. And I was just thinking about how I'd feel if I met the person who always split their bag and moonbag the second half of it on every play since the start of crypto. What would that person be sitting on in comparison with that level of discipline? I'd probably be puking in the corner of the room.
Yeah. Just so upset with it, right? Like just violent about it. If like it's once again though, it's like comparison's the thief of joy. What could have been? Oh, I could have made
Yeah.
more. I could have done better. I could have done this, right? So I don't know. It's tough. It's just a tough situation. But I just think to your point, it's like the discipline, having rules, set take profits, set stop losses. All of that just plays into it. And I think a lot of it is being comfortable seeing that and reacting to it and trading off of it, right? Like that's the hardest part is sticking to your rules, which I broke all of them today. So shout out me. But also just being confident in like, why are you taking this trade? What is it showing? What do you see? Where does it make sense? Why would you take the trade? All that stuff. And I think that's a big part of it, right? You should be able to explain to somebody else what is the setup, what is the trade, why the stop, why the take profit, and where do you stand in this current moment. So yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And I think to your point, if I was able to go back and just look at some of the trades I've had, what I left on the table, what I'm euphoric I got out of, like, dude, I could look at Believe Coin. I was one of the earliest buyers on Believe at like 3 to 4 to 5, 6 mil before it ran to 300, right? And that was a crazy trade for me. And I paper handed it. I sold it at like 100 mil was my target. And then it ran 2x more. And everyone was like, dude, you papered it. Why? And I was like, well, it's just that was the setup I had. Like my target was the 30x moon bag, right? So I was happy about it. But then at the same time, you just have a lot of people who rode that trade. And imagine now if I held it all the way through, like, what are we talking about? I'd be deeply in the red. So that was kind of why I was like, if you have it, I still made money, still made great money on it. And I was perfectly content exiting where I did, knowing that I got out and I was happy with it. So
Yeah, a lot
that
of
was a lot of
times, a lot of times, there's a couple lines I've always loved. I heard somebody say one time, they said, if selling the position would change your lifestyle of the position, like, and that's not groundbreaking. Let's not like change your life as in you instantly have $5 million, you had zero. It's like if it would secure your next amount of rent, if it would secure whatever huge financial things, and the bigger and bigger, obviously, you need to always keep that in mind of like, if you wanted
Well, I
to,
have a perfect story with it too, and it was pure
yeah.
luck. Was I was sitting there, I bought Aster early, right?
Oh
Shared it to
yeah.
our Discord. I was like, I'm getting in. It ran to $2. And me and Vo we were looking at buying a house, and I knew I wanted to use my Aster trade for a large part of the down payment. And it was 2 days before 10:10 when the whole market like giga nuked, right? And I was watching the trade. It was either like 10:7 or 10:8. And I'm like losing a little bit. And I'm like, oh man, would I be upset if this went down another 10%? Would I be more upset if it dropped 10%, or would I be happy with an outsized return? And the reality set in, and I was like, I would be significantly angrier if the price went down than if the price went up. And I sold the whole position, got completely out. And it ended up working out unreal.
Huge.
But like people were like, how'd you know that was going to happen? I didn't. It was purely that I was watching the trade and I was like, ah, man, I'm going to be really pissed if I round trip this, like really, really mad if I round trip this. Versus I don't think I'd be that much happier if I made, even if I hit 100x on top, obviously I'd be happy, but my emotions were so much more anger if this price went against me. So much angry if the price went against me. And that's what led to me to exit. It was purely would I be angrier losing money on this trade than happier making money? And that was what led to the exit. So it was sticking to a plan, having a plan, and then realizing these gains are not going to make me substantially happier. So I got out.
It's great perspective. And it was again a reflection moment where you're realizing the thing you're trying to achieve in life is what you're here for. Like nobody's here to hold a token just to hold a token. They're here to make money to achieve whatever goals for yourself or people around you have. And
Mhm.
snapping out of the bubble that is crypto sometimes to get back to, and that's probably even a thing of practice is probably good, is making sure each day you understand why you're putting in the work and what you're trying to get out of life so that you do make the right decision when Aster's staring you in the face. You're like, oh, would I get a two? What if it 2X's from here? That'd be great. But what if it craters from here? Well, that would be catastrophic. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
care. Game over. I actually, this happened to me. This is something I had to do back when I was doing some sports betting. Is I had to realize at one point, and this is totally person to person. This is again depending how you feel, but I realized that I got almost zero enjoyment out of winning. It was almost an expectation in my head. If I
Yep.
lost, though, I was pissed. I was furious. So quickly into doing some sports bets because my brothers love it and people love it. I just realized I'm getting absolutely zero value out of this, but I'm getting only misery for
Yeah.
missing. You don't hit that often on sports bets. Even if you're 50-50, that means half the time you're miserable and then half the time you're neutral. It wasn't worth it. So even for myself, I had to realize that kind of like your Aster moment, it was I'm not getting anything from this. I'm only stealing my own energy and my absolute full temper is coming out, which is exhausting and
It
never comes out
ruins
except in
it
that moment.
ruins so much, man. People around you don't want to be around you because you're so emotional. You're
Yeah,
asking them to like, dude, trust me. I went down sports gambling rabbit holes myself. And now
yeah,
the best thing for me is I like sports gambling still. I still do.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's fun. It makes watching games more enjoyable. Absolutely. Because it's like you feel like you're involved. Um, but then at the same time, for me, a lot of what I look at and how I navigate it is if I'm risking money that I'm gonna be pissed and ruin my mood for,
Yeah.
it's not worth trade. It's not worth doing. If I'm risking money that makes it more enjoyable and it's like, oh, I made 50 bucks, like it pays for dinner. I'm out with friends. We're having a good time watching the game, and you're just like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is fun. Oh, great. Like, I have a prop bet. It's fun. Like last night, I had Wemby points. And was I mad that he went over and I took the under? Sure. I was like, damn, like I was so close. But I hit like Stephon Castle's points over early, and I was like, oh, that was great. It just made it more fun to watch the game. That was it. And I wasn't mad when the game ended that I lost money. I wasn't like, oh my God, screw this. This is fucked. All this stuff. Sports is tough. And I know friends who crush it. I know friends who do really well. But at the same time, I'm just yeah, it's part of the system. You kind of go through these experiences.
Yeah, and the thing is, I actually do pretty well. Like I ran my Kalshi account up pretty good, but it was just yeah, it was like it's just not my place. I still
Yeah.
enjoy doing a Kalshi bet, and I enjoy Polymarket Kalshi. I enjoy the strategy of moving in percentages. So being able to absorb based on market psychology, to me, that just floats in a totally different realm. And I also think that it's really good around the emotional and the discipline side where you run into similar things that you run into in crypto around take profits, things like that. These moments where you're like hindsight, it was 95% I was going to win that thing. And I had to hold on for the last 5%. And they hit a 3 pointer to lose the game at the like
Crash out.
there was
Like,
no reason. Yet you like then you realize, oh, this is the same thing you have in moments with the token is this I'm already a massive winner, but I'm so greedy in this last little thing that logically it makes no sense, but you're in your bubble. And
yep.
so it did help me also with some of those like, oh shoot, that trade is kind of there. And I need to know if I'm 85% up even on this prediction and it's 2, 3x up, there's no reason to hold it for the last $50 or the last $100.
No.
Take your win because in March Madness it hit me 2 or 3 times. It was just massive
Yep.
end of game moments that made no sense, but catastrophic to a win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think that's spot on. It's catastrophic. It's like, what is the situation at hand here? Dude, don't get me wrong. I love March. Like I played
Yeah.
basketball in college. Love March. March is my favorite sporting month of the year. Make brackets. I get so into it, learn everything about every team, and get really, really crazy on it. And yeah, to your point, it's like March also has the biggest heartbreaks, man. Like you see some of the craziest stuff happen where like Duke almost lost to a 16 seed. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a huge UConn fan too, and watching the Duke UConn game, I was with my friends from UConn and we're watching this, and it was just crazy because the turnover into the deep three for the
Yeah.
win, it's like the highest of highs and the lowest lows, but it is like trading. Like you see these moments and it's like, holy shit, this is insane.
Oh yeah, and I go in, I'm like, "Oh, Arizona versus Michigan, great game to take the swing on."
Yeah.
Arizona gets massacred from the
It's
moment
kicked in
the
the
game
teeth.
starts, and I
Kicked
put a
in the
big bet
absolute
on
teeth.
Arizona the second they went down. I'm like, obviously, it's gonna go back and forth. The the absolute massacre that Michigan put on them from 2 1 seeds, you just think, "There's no possible way that they're never gonna enter this game again," and that's why I bid it all the way down because 'cause I'm like, "Oh,
Yep.
obviously, Arizona's gonna at least make this reasonable." They lost by like 30, some just ridiculous 1 seed versus 1 seed game. I don't know if that's ever even been seen, that kinda domination 1 to 1.
No. No. So yeah, it's always something, man. It's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, well, to pivot a little bit, I think I wanted to there's 2 things I wanted to cover, and then I want you to get to your talk about your brand a little bit and make sure people know where to follow you, where to find you, things like that. But the 2 things that I'll jump out on is first, your lean into going into education and that being an end goal of yours. How has that sat? I don't know if you've looked at it or not with the Founders University coming out that's all around getting the high school where they say basically you'll get to $1 million business by the time you graduate or you get all of your money back.
I love the idea. I love the idea a lot. Like, I think it's awesome, and I think there's not enough of a push on not needing secondary education, right? Like, my brother went to a tech school, and I think the tech jobs are like some of the most in demand plumbers, electricians, mechanics. I'm like, these things all make so much sense. And realistically, more people should be doing that stuff. Truthfully, more people should be getting involved in that. And they just don't. For whatever reason, they just don't. So I see a lot of that, and I'm like, this just makes more sense. I don't know why there's not a bigger push on it. And you can get a $200,000 student loan for college, but you can't get a $20,000 loan to start a business. Like that, that's never made sense to me. It's never made sense to me. And so I think these moves for like the founder high and that stuff, I'm like, this is cool. I really like this move. And I just think it makes a lot of sense. And I think we should see more of it. Like I really like that they're like, you'll get to $1 million business or your money back. I'm like, yeah, that risk, that asymmetric risk is so much better then go to college, get a liberal arts degree for friggin' who even for like ancient studies of Roman literature. Like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And now you have $80,000 of student loans for a job that pays you $20,000 a year. How are you gonna possibly survive? Like, I don't know. That stuff bothers me a lot.
Yeah, I was when I saw that they had the opening and they're bringing somebody over. They're paying pretty well for that role as well. I think it was over 250K to get a teacher in to do the role, which in that field, that's a real healthy pay for
Yeah,
them. I did think about you. I was like, I don't, it's unfortunately not in his location, but and maybe it's not the right timing. But I thought, wow, I wonder if Easy would look at a role like this and link into
it
the
would be
early
cool.
days of this university.
It would be cool, and, like, I'd love to look more into it, but it's also just, like, the time commitment, it's really tough, and you got a lot of pressure, which is, like, that's the other side of it too. Like, I wanna do these things, but getting into, like, a traditional school teaching a course is one thing where it's like, oh, it's, like, 1 hour a week, going to a school, sitting up there and telling them talking to them about what they need to learn, and like, yeah, this seems doable, versus helping them build million-dollar businesses, and, like, I gotta think. I had a business that I had spun up on Amazon, if you're familiar with it, that was doing 360K revenue a year, one person business, which was great. So like, I don't even know what the multiple is. I don't. It's technically not $1 million business, right? Ended up shutting it down just because time commitments for it. But like, helping people build a business is like you really get stretched thin. Really get stretched thin.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept, and you imagine it's probably gonna be a crazy competitive group of people that come in there that
Yeah.
probably already did some pretty insane things, and now they're like, "Yeah, I'd love to give back. I'd love to be a part of this next generation," and to have connections, you really are building year after year a network of the future entrepreneurs of the next generation, which invaluable. But yeah,
Oh
it is
yeah.
out in New York, and it is. I did see they're going to do a massive media push throughout it too, and so they're going to do a ton of content around that whole university throughout the entire year.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. I think that that's like such a home run. And I think just getting more eyes on it's going to make more people realize, like, oh man, there's something here. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something here. And I think that that's the coolest thing.
Yeah, and the other thing, or that was a really interesting to see, and I've been loving their roles coming out. The other thing before we get to wrapping up and getting you, where everybody should find you, subscribe, everything like that is just a brief touch on AI. I don't want to dive super deep into it because I know it could be a full nother giant conversation, but we have Mythos that's coming out. That's something that's kind of shaking people after the Zach situation is what does this look like? And then also want to talk briefly on privacy, even listening to VVV recently and thinking about it in general around transactions, like you said, whether it's blockchain or non-blockchain, just that block of people don't necessarily. Do you feel that people necessarily even need to be seeing people's transactions on chain? And maybe there's a compartmentalize that or categories of that is not on this, yes on this type thing. But starting with is the fear around Mythos, is the fear around AI's ability to hack something being better than their ability to prevent something? Is that a legitimate fear?
I think there's definitely a legitimate fear on it for sure. I understand the concern. Do I buy into it? Not nearly as heavily. I think that obviously AI and what happened with Opus being able to find the exploit in Zcash was crazy. But I also think like in general, it's kind of just showing the cracks in the current model that we have with like a heavy focus on DeFi, privacy, and all this other stuff. When there's also just a lot of other things on chain that I think are way more interesting, like where I'd rather spend time and look at stuff. Like I know that you obviously work with the arena. I'm a huge fan of AVAX and what they've been doing. Obviously, you have the World Cup coming up too, which I'm
Yeah.
like, that's awesome. So I think them tokenizing like RWAs is way more interesting on chain and where like I'm looking outside of the privacy stuff and the AI stuff. That trade, it's like you could have been early to that a few months ago, but now RWAs are up 600% in total value and volume in the last 6 months. It's like that's way more interesting. Like I would rather go to where the puck is heading versus where the puck's went. And I think that's probably the most interesting thing. And obviously, I know that you do a lot with like AVAX in general. So it's like, I got to give some love to them. I think that they're just crushing it with the RWA side of things. Securitize is sick. I think a lot of tokenized assets on chain is going to continue to progress. I think the AI trade is largely finding a top, and now it's what moves next. I think perps are very interesting. RWAs for stocks. Obviously, the whole Pokemon meta is awesome. The ticketing side of things fascinating. So a lot of that is where I'm like spending more time and looking more into stuff because I'm like, this is where I think there's going to be more demand, especially from institutional capital, than what we're seeing today. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, if you take the time to look at the ecosystem, it's hard to ignore the level of things moving on chain and the institutions behind them, the countries, the big pieces from those, whether it's Progmat from Japan, whether it's a big brand like FIFA. Most people, it seems like even though that news gets out there, it doesn't hit as many people's radar as you'd think for saying, hey, FIFA's tickets and their right to buys are all on this chain. You would think that that would just be, how did this happen? The World Cup is here. Like, this is the big blockchain that
Yeah.
got that deal. That's a humongous brand, one of the biggest in the world on one of the biggest events every 4 years. It's hard because it almost feels like there's a struggle for certain news to go out unless it's aligned to certain things.
I also just think it's people that like a lot of the trades I find they're like the narrative's right, but it just takes time for the people to wake up to it. And I think that's part of it is like there's so much awesome stuff happening on chain, especially with AVAX, like you're mentioning,
Yeah.
but it just takes some people time to warm up to the idea. And as the World Cup happens and people want to attend, the best place to buy them is these tickets that you can buy all on chain without even needing to know it's on chain. And that's a great user experience. So that's why I'm like, okay, this makes sense from like a value accrual perspective. And when it can happen once, it can happen multiple times. So it's like awesome. Set the stage with the World Cup. Now you're continuing to do awesome things, partnerships with major MLB and NBA functions that I'm like, okay, more stuff's happening on chain, reward programs, all this stuff. I just think it's going to take time. Like that's the thing here. And I think that it's like we saw the AI trade take time, right? We saw the privacy trade take time. Zcash is trading sub $100. AI tokens were trading at like near was trading sub $1.50 before it ran all the way to $3. And it just took time for people to realize, oh, wait, this actually makes sense. This clicks. This is where it's happening. This is where the trade is. This is where capital's flowing. And once that happens, a lot of times you can kind of just get left behind. So it's like you'd rather want to be a first mover than a late participant. And you had asked about like the privacy stuff and the AI stuff, Mythos, all these things. We're kind of reaching the climax for those moments where now it's like, okay, let's find the next thing.
Yeah. For me, it's more first on the Avalanche side. I think from a standpoint of from now till, let's assume the cycle has seemed to fall true so far. Let's say from now till 2 years from now, basically when we're going up towards the bull trend halvings, things like that. I do think we're going to see a lot of shuff off where cream rise to the top. Like, we're going to see
Mhm.
some of these dead chains in the top 100 will have to, the day of reckoning is coming closer. And the ones who are building with real clients, I mean, even Bitwise came on the other week and spoke to how, and this is a completely unbiased, like somebody coming from the outside researching and then a giant fund saying, this makes sense for us
Yeah.
for XYZ reasons. How can I not, as somebody in the ecosystem, feel like, yeah, that's a voice I want to hear from? I want to hear from big money saying, this is why I'm going to put money into this ecosystem. And we're
Yeah.
getting that. I think we are going to see we are going to see the cream rise the top moment. We're going to see certain chains that do no revenue, have no connections and everything that somehow have just stayed in the top 100, top 50, top 20. It's kind of time for them to shuff off and us to evolve into, this company has relationships with these brands, has this much on chain, runs this much revenue, has this much profit, runs, really, I think the other thing will be, runs lean, because you don't need to have 300,000 person bloat teams these days.
Yeah.
And Hyperliquid to me is the first framing of the evolution of a company from day one to start at what the future of realistic size teams will be for giant companies.
Yeah. Oh, spot on. I think that that's absolutely spot on. Like, I think that's just the reality too, right? Like, that's what we're seeing a lot of here. And You mentioned like the smaller team, vibe coding plays a big part of it. You're able to build things and do a lot of cool things on chain and build products with much smaller and leaner teams and have much bigger impact. And I just think it's a time thing. It's a shift. Before you needed a ton of dev resources to build anything. And like, dude, I mess with AI all the time. I'm constantly building stuff, tinkering with stuff. We have a full clipping team I built the entire infrastructure for. And a lot of it's just fun. Like, so long story short, I'm interested in Mythos, but I'm also interested in finding what's next. Where's the puck going? And like you mentioned, Bitwise is outlining a lot of this awesome stuff that's happening on chain. Institutional capital is flowing in a very interesting way. I would much rather be going towards where these traditional funds are pointing the arrow and saying like this is what makes sense, right? And when you're seeing people buy into these narratives and using tech that you don't even realize is there. Like, dude, I had a friend hit me up because they were like, "Hey, what do you know about this stuff with the FIFA tickets, the right to buy stuff?" I just pointed them to the marketplace, and they were like, "This
Yeah.
was way easier than I thought it was." They had no idea that the underlying tech stack was blockchain, but to me, it was like, okay, this was an unlock point. It reminded me a lot of the early Solana days with like the step in and stuff like that, where people had no idea, but they were using the tech in an interesting and novel way that made sense. So that's kind of where I'm looking is like this makes sense. This is a very clear differentiator. And I would rather, again, just go where I'm quite literally being guided at times. It makes sense to like follow the big money, follow the smart money. So that's kind of how I outline it and what I look for.
Yeah, the chain is really the cloud infrastructure of what, and it's not exactly, like for like, but it's supposed to be the untalked about but heavily used thing. It's
Yeah.
it's it's the it's the behind the scenes tech companies. We're going to talk about the relationship we want and which cloud infrastructure provider makes most sense for us. But you and me jumping on websites and the internet and doing different things aren't supposed to be like, well, I only do stuff that's on AWS cloud. I'm not really a Google Cloud or Azure
Yep.
guy. Just I'm a one cloud provider guy. We couldn't even begin to do that because we'd have to literally Google and figure out which company uses which cloud provider and when they switch. But we have a little bit, we're in that early stage where we have this, I only use that infrastructure a lot.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot more of that. And that to me, I think I'm hoping breaks away and we get to it's infrastructure. What app is built on that? What are things that are built? What are sitting on there? How do I get involved? Because that's where I'm looking, even when it goes to avalanches. I want to get to the point where I can say confidently to somebody in my network that has more money, this is where you would establish money on this chain to get a part of what's coming in the future. And right now, we're still finding those spots where it's not easy to inject money into the ecosystem outside of a smaller pool of things.
Yep. No, I think you're spot on. I do. I think you are spot on with it. I think that's kind of where a lot more people should be looking is at and how people are navigating that. It just makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, I will say that I'll say one thing on the AI thing, and then we'll move straight to kind of closing things up. But from an AI perspective, I think for me, I'm not looking at it necessarily from the investment side. I'm looking at it more from a what is it going to take? First, how am I utilizing it? Second, how would privacy potentially enter into these conversations with AI or even on chain? And even the VVV conversation, it's like not even if I invest or not, which whether or not I'm debating every day, even at this size, watching it go up 8x since I put it on my watch list, rookie move. But thinking about evolution of on-chain and how privacy and on-chain could combine together and where it makes sense and where it doesn't. And I was thinking about this the other day, we talked about it a little bit with Jason, was the hot dog example. Like if I go to a hot dog stand and I pay on chain with a card or with my wallet, I don't want that vendor to know my name, my last name, and everything that's in my wallet or every wallet that's ever touched that wallet.
Yeah.
I want to see a disconnect there. I want it to be like my credit card. I tap and they see that it's a transaction, but there's no look back into my entire world. So that's the moment I'm looking for is had that's the part of privacy where it started making more sense for me is, oh, it's not that I need everything private, but if I'm using it like an everyday user, I need privacy for safety of you, me, anybody, because there are bad actors that will be like, oh, I'll start a hot dog stand and I'll get in New York and I'll get a ton of little transactions from a million people over a year. And I'll have all of their data and I'll look at all of their transactions and all of their wallets. And then I'll go find those people, kidnap them, whatever. It is a safety concern and something that to me has to happen to be a 0 to 1 moment. This segmenting of the ability to see back across anywhere money has ever come from.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, I think that's part of it, right? Like I think also just understanding the privacy side and why it matters is like a big part of it. It's like you're not trying to hide something, but you're just trying to respect your data, right? And that's also part of the AI side. Like ownership of data is a huge facet and a huge value add for a lot of this stuff. And I think so many people just overlook that and think just from a very basic standpoint, oh, if you're hiding your stuff, you're doing something illegal. And that's really not that's not the situation. Like that's not the reality of it. It's almost simpler than that, right? It's I just value my own data and you don't want to give everybody your address. You don't want to give everyone your phone number. So why would
Yeah.
you also want to give every single on-chain transaction? So that's kind of like the reality of the situation.
Or even in VVV when I was listening to them, and this was just more of a conceptual conversation around privacy and AI. It was very interesting to hear them sitting down to take an hour and really listen to what they're trying to do and the core concept. And I'm not paid by VVV. Obviously, I'm not linked to them in any way. This was just excitement from being in the industry and looking deeper into privacy from a more straightforward aspect and not bigger picture, like, oh, nobody should ever see anything. It was really interesting to hear them talk about we you also want within AI, people are giving over way too much information into a more of a public forum or a private company, but they could get a connection with the government, could get a connection or could be hacked. An employee or bad actor could get to this stuff and get it out. And some people are putting all of their information into AI and downloading everything about themselves. And with VVV, their full thing is how do we allow you to put all of your medical records, everything inside this pool that's completely private so that you still get access to what you need to get things done or to help resolve things
Mhm.
or dive deep, but that nobody is going to be able to get to that information and spread it or whatever. And that was really interesting to me because that is a big differentiator in the market
Mhm.
for how that works and just even thinking about how they integrate dual tokens and things to be able to pay for that compute. It was nice to take it. I think it was these moments and sometimes in the markets that aren't as exciting or aren't as chaotically bullish. You can sit down sometimes and it reminds me that sometimes you got to take an hour and just listen to some founders that are really making moves and understand truly what that company's vision is.
Yeah, and I think that gives you an edge. I mean, it's the same thing with like reading 10Ks and Form 4s and all this other stuff from TradFi. Just being able to hear from the mouth of the individual building it and just hearing their conviction and what their end goal is just gives you a level of insight that you didn't have previously. And I think that that's invaluable. So yeah, I think you're spot on.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know you've got a ton on your plate all the time. So just taking the time to come on and talk with everybody. The big piece with my show and what I am always pushing is I want people to meet people I feel are trusted, good actors in the space, and that they can learn from so that they can make sure they add you to their network, to their people they follow, and be able to learn from you. Because this is what my whole show is about is to try and although it's named exit liquidity, the whole core concept is to get people educated, give them the tools, the network, and the education in order to not become exit liquidity in this market, which the market's retention rate is the worst in all tech industries and most all industries. And we got to change that. And we start doing that right now. We start doing it with these kind of conversations and we start doing it by meeting the right people. So please tell me where everyone can find you, what are the best ways to engage you and support what you're doing?
Yeah, I stream 5 days a week, 9 a.m. Eastern time at Not So Easy Money on X, YouTube, and Kick. You can follow me on X, Not So Easy Money, and it's been fun. It's been fun. So
Absolutely. Well, maybe we'll get you on later this year and the market be a
Please.
little bit better and we can sync back up and see how things are going. I'll be over here just dealing with this chaotic young daughter of mine trying to figure out how to be a dad, which is I'll tell you
That's a battle in itself, man.
it's a quite a journey that you don't really understand it every day. It's kind of it's like you're watching yourself live life. It's a kind of a
Oh,
weird
yeah.
moment.
I believe it, and that's a battle in itself. I struggle with the farm animals. Cannot even imagine a little one. So, Brandon, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a ton of fun. Thank you.
All right, easy. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Was an amazing stream having him on. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear from people that have done just a really good job going through this industry, attacking different facets of it, endless learners, people who spend the time to get educated, to do things the right way. And everybody has at least some bit of the same story when they get out the other side. Everyone's taken their lumps. Everybody's been beat up at times. Everybody's not sold the thing they should have. But it's all about we learn from it, we adjust, and we get better so that we can do the things we want to achieve in life. We can do the things we want to achieve for our family. We can be the person we want to be. So I hope everybody enjoyed the stream today with Easy. I hope you're appreciating some of these great voices that are coming on to give their insight and to tell you how they got to where they are and the things they had to go through to get there. We're going to keep bringing on amazing people to help with insights. If you have people you'd love to see, send them over. If you have a connection, even better. Don't connect me before telling me, but happy to give it my best shot to get them on the stream. Again, huge shout out to the arena, the sponsor of the show. Some huge things coming within the streaming and other regards to the platform. It's going to be really explosive. And then again, as Easy mentioned, Avalanche has been a sleeper. Avalanche has been something people are really sleeping on, the amount of things they're doing. And I hope we get a really nice showing at the World Cup with the right to buy tickets going through there, people being able to purchase. I may even need to go onto the site in order to get myself one, maybe go see a game in Seattle. But I appreciate everybody for taking the time. Make sure to go like, comment, and repost on X so that we have that recording spread around everywhere. It was quite the conversation today. Have an incredible Tuesday. I am going to be out after today. I'm heading to San Diego for my brother's bachelor party. I will get to you within the next 24 to 48 hours, whether we go stream on Friday or whether there's going to possibly be, or whether we don't stream, or whether there possibly be a guest host running the stream on Friday under the Liquidity banner. So I'll talk to all of you soon. Appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.